Just Az.com Productions with at-home repairs. How to install a sliding glass door.
Our back door faces south, and over the years the exposure to the intense heat and light has caused the wood frame to buckle and crack. We're going to replace this door with a sliding door, one that is made with a vinyl frame. Let me show you how we're going to do it. Before we remove the old door, we have some prep work to do. We're going to remove the molding and save it and use it for the new door. We're also going to paint the walls. The reason we do the painting before we install the door is so we won't get paint on the new door. I've removed the trim and taped off the area around the wall, and now we are ready to paint. We're using Behr Premium Plus Ultra, a paint and primer in one. You can see our review of this product by clicking the link to the side. There is also a link in the description. Once the paint is dry, our next step is to remove the old door. We have finished painting the walls and they have dried overnight. It's now time to remove the door and the frame. To start with, we will remove the screen and the door so we can have access to the frame.
To remove the screens, Bob uses a screwdriver to pop the screen out of the track and then lifts it out. He'll do the same on the other door. Then he removes the hinges from the doors. To do this, tap out the pins from the hinges and pull them out. This disconnects the door from the hinges. Bob can then lift the door out. He'll do the same for the other side door and then the main door. The side doors, called side lights, and the main door are then stored in an area away from the workspace. With the screens and doors removed, Bob then cuts away weather stripping from around the trim. He then uses a pry bar to pull the trim from the opening. He cuts out any shims that were used when the old door was installed. Shims are used to level the door within the opening. Openings for doors and windows are rarely squared, and so the shims act as spacers to make the door level both vertically and horizontally within the less than perfect opening. Bob loosens the frame from the old door with a few gentle whacks with a mallet, then lifts it out and stores it away from the workspace. We now have a rough opening for the new sliding door.
We are now ready to remove the packaging from around the door. We haven't done this before because we didn't want any damage done to the door. And now we're going to remove it, but being very careful not to scratch the door or window.
With the outer packaging removed, Bob lifts the sliding door away from the stationary door. He puts the slider in a safe place. We lay the door frame down on a flat surface, exterior side down, close to the opening, and remove the packing boards. The boards are attached to a flange or fin that is attached to the frame of the door.
This is the flange to the frame. If you're going to be putting this door in a wood frame house, you'd leave this flange on. You would just nail it into the 2x4s. But since we're putting this in masonry, we have to remove this flange.
Score the flange with a utility knife, running the knife along the edge close to the frame. You'll likely need to do this several times. Then carefully bend the flange until it snaps off the frame. With the bottom of the door facing toward the bottom or sill of the opening and the interior of the door facing the interior of the house, Bob and TC raise the door and lift it into the opening. At least 2 people are needed for this part of the job.
Get on the inside.
They maneuver the door into place, moving it into the rough opening so the interior of the door is flush or level
Okay.
with the interior walls and flooring. Bob places shims in the space between the outer edge of the door and the opening. Shims are small pieces of wood that are thicker at one end, tapering down to a thin edge at the other end. You slide the shim in, thin edge first, until the shim is wedged in between the door and opening. Bob placed shims at the top right and top left of the door, and then uses a level to check that the door is plumb, that is, vertically level. The bubble is in the middle so he can proceed with the installation. You may need to shim from both the inside and outside of the door. Slide one shim in, then, from the other side, slide another shim over it. Each time you add a shim, check for the level. If the door isn't level or plumb, shim from the other side, and then into another space. Continue to adjust until the door is level and plumb. That is, level both horizontally and vertically within the opening. Then screw the shims into place.
You don't want the drill to touch the vinyl. It'll act like a sander and rip it up.
Bob first drills pilot holes, then changes to a screwdriver to finish securing the shims into place. He uses an extension on the drill to ensure the drill doesn't touch the vinyl frame. With some help from TC, Bob installs the sliding door, fitting it into the upper and lower tracks of the door's frame. Then we slide the door to test that it opens and closes smoothly. Bob then cuts away the excess of the shims.
Score it with a knife. Break it off.
Now he insulates around the door. Using spray foam, we used Great Stuff. Bob sprays the insulation into the gap around the door.
Find where to put the latch. We open up the latch and then move it for here. And we make a mark on there where the latch should be. We drill just 2 holes in the big one so we can slide it up and down and test where we need it to be. We need to put shims in there to give some strength. Perfect the first time.
Bob and TC then reinstall the trim around the door. Bob uses an air compressor and nail gun to complete this task. If adding new trim, you'll need to cut the trim and paint to standard. Bob cuts lumber for trim work to be installed around the exterior of the door. TC supervises. Bob then secures the trim to the framework. The next step is to add a bead of silicone around the outer edge of the trim and along the sill or bottom of the opening. This eliminates any gaps that would reduce energy efficiency, let in water during rainy weather, or let in any unwanted critters. Bob then smooths the silicone and will paint the trim, the sill, and the step to match the exterior of the house.
Removal of the old door and the installation of the new door took about 4 hours of our time. We added trim around the outside of the door and painted it, which added a little more time. Local home improvement store charges $399 for installation of a sliding glass door. While this is not a simple project, if you have the right tools and the basic DIY skills and a couple of friends to help you out, you could save the installation costs. You can find a list of tools and supplies we used for this project at justaz.com/installation sliding glass door.htm.
Thanks for watching.